Spain, once the unmatched titan of Europe, saw its mighty armada shattered by storm and fire in 1588, a fleet of legends broken and scattered to the winds. But the fall of a fleet is not the fall of an empire. History tells us a story of defeat, but the truth is far more complex. The story of Spain after the Armada is not one of sudden collapse, but of a wounded giant that refused to die. Did Spain truly lose its power? Many believed so. Its rivals certainly hoped so. But despite the naval disaster, Spain's empire remained vast, stretching across continents from the sun-scorched fields of Europe to the gold-rich mountains of the New World. It was, without question, richer and larger than ever before. Fleets of treasure ships still crossed the Atlantic, pouring gold and silver into the royal coffers. On the battlefields of Europe, the Spanish tercios, the most feared infantry in the world, remained a symbol of Spain's unbreakable military might. England did not become the dominant sea power overnight. Spain's influence in the courts and councils of Europe was still immense. The empire was wounded, yes, but far from dead. But Europe was a cauldron of change, simmering with religious strife and political ambition. A storm was brewing, far deadlier than the one that sank the Armada. The continent was divided between a Catholic South, led by Spain, and a rising Protestant North. At the heart of this tension lay the powerful Habsburg family, whose bloodline connected the thrones of Spain and the Holy Roman Empire in Austria. They saw themselves as the defenders of the one true faith, a bastion against the tide of heresy. This simmering conflict finally exploded in 1618 in the city of Prague. In an act of rebellion that would echo across the ages, Protestant noblemen threw to Catholic imperial officials from a castle window. This was the spark that ignited a continental firestorm. The 30 Years' War. It was a conflict born of religion, power, and fear, a vortex of violence that would inevitably pull Spain into its deadly embrace. For the Habsburgs of Madrid, this was not a distant squabble. It was a direct challenge to their faith, their family, and their vision for Europe. The road to war was paved, and Spain was marching down it. For 30 brutal years, Europe burned. And Spain, committed to its allies and its cause, marched headfirst into the inferno. The Spanish tercios, disciplined and relentless, carved a path of victory across the battlefields of Germany. At the Battle of White Mountain, they helped secure a decisive victory for the Catholic cause, crushing the Bohemian Revolt. For a time, it seemed Spanish power was once again unchallengeable. Letters and decrees flew between Madrid and Vienna, coordinating armies and dictating the fate of nations. But the war machine was insatiable. It demanded more soldiers, more gold, more resources than any empire could sustain. Spain was fighting on multiple fronts, its armies stretched thin, its treasury bleeding dry. Victory has a price, and soon Spain began to pay in blood, gold, and broken alliances. The war that had begun with such promise slowly turned into a nightmare of attrition. The greatest blow came when Catholic France, Spain's traditional rival, put politics before religion and entered the war on the side of the Protestants. Now, Spain was encircled, exhausted, and fighting for its very survival. The once invincible tercios suffered devastating defeats. The flow of silver from the Americas, once a mighty river, slowed to a trickle, unable to fund the endless conflict. Troops went unpaid, mutinies erupted, and the intricate web of Spanish dominance across Europe began to tear apart. The tide had turned, not with a single decisive battle, but with the slow, grinding exhaustion of an empire pushed beyond its limits. When the smoke finally cleared and the war ended in 1648, the map of Europe was redrawn. The Peace of Westphalia marked the end of an era. It was a new dawn for Europe, but a twilight for the old Spanish dream of a unified Catholic continent. Spain was forced to officially recognize the independence of the Dutch Republic and cede territories. The Habsburgs' grip on Central Europe was broken, and the principle of national sovereignty triumphed over imperial authority. The age of religious wars was over, and a new balance of power, with France at its center, began to emerge. Spain, for the first time in over a century, was no longer the sole arbiter of Europe's destiny. But empires do not simply disappear overnight. They adapt, they transform. In the decades that followed, Spain rose again. Not with the thunder of cannons or the might of invincible fleets, but with the quiet tools of diplomacy, reform, and strategic alliances. Under a new dynasty, the Bourbons, the nation underwent a profound internal rebuilding. The economy was modernized, the military was reorganized, and the administration was streamlined. Spain forged a powerful new alliance with its old rival, France, creating a formidable bloc that reasserted its influence in Italy and the Mediterranean. It was a different kind of power, smarter, more flexible, and more sustainable. Spain had learned the hard lessons of overreach and was now playing a new game, and playing it well. The Armada may have sunk beneath the waves, a symbol of pride brought low. But Spain endured. It survived the catastrophic 30 Years' War, weathered the loss of territory, and navigated the shifting tides of European politics. It was no longer an invincible giant casting a shadow over the entire world, but a resilient, enduring power that continued to shape the fate of Europe for centuries to come. History remembers the fall, but it often forgets the rise that follows. The story of Spain is a testament to that endurance. Power does not vanish, it transforms.